Hi everyone, I'm Andy McNamara, Editor-in-Chief of Game Informer magazine. I'm here with Matt Burtz and Matt Helgeson, and we are here today to discuss Grand Theft Auto V. As I'm sure you've already seen our story, it's available digitally and coming to subscriber inboxes around the world as we speak. I know people have been really excited about this, so we want to do something different, and that we wanted to sit down and kind of discuss our travels, discuss seeing the game, and just kind of give you some overall impressions of our experience. These two are the experts on our little panel here, so I wanted to ask you, before we left for New York City to go see the game, what did you guys expect to see from Grand Theft Auto V?
Well, we didn't know what to expect, honestly. We've been talking with them a long time about when can we talk, when can we talk, when can we talk, and we never really got to the point where they shared much. We just flew out to New York to check it out. So I didn't know what to expect. I think part of me was kind of suspecting that they were going to do something with multiple protagonists. I thought it really worked when you looked at the Grand Theft Auto 4 episodes together. You had 3 different perspectives, very different. It made the city feel more alive. And I thought maybe they could build off that. So
certainly everyone thought that was a hint of the future.
But outside of that, I didn't know what to expect. I had speculated, I wonder if they're going to use the motion scan technology we saw in LA Noire. We really didn't know, so.
I thought maybe in the same way that GTA 4 was sort of them readdressing GTA 3 and Liberty City with the new engine and the kind of technology they have now. I thought they would just, sort of make a bigger, better version of San Andreas. So I probably didn't even expect what we got, and I would have been happy with that. I mean, obviously, it's when you see the game, it's amazing the world that they could build. But I kind of was a little more skeptical about those rumors going in.
We were actually just walking down this nondescript street, we thought we were going to Rockstar's headquarters, and then we all of a sudden took a left, and we were like, let's go get some coffee or something. And then they opened a door, and we went to this place where we went to go check out the game, which was, we got to see the game on a huge theater screen, which was a great way to view the game. So, I think we say for everyone, we were pretty shocked by what we saw almost immediately. We had a view of Michael sitting next poolside with basically a layout of the city in front of him. We were like, what is this on? I mean, that really was our first question. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, this game's been in development. They started prototyping, pretty much right after Grand Theft Auto 4. So it's been worked on for a long time, and they announced 360 PS3, which I think we were kind of expecting. The other question we asked is, are they going to do PC? They didn't do PC for Red Dead, which I think surprised a lot of people because GTA 4 was really popular with the mod community.
And hugely popular.
Yeah, they did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and a lot of crazy things that an open world game kind of has, and that letting people play with, really got explored and expanded in that world.
Mm-hmm. But they were pretty non-committal. They said, we're announcing these two. We don't know if they're going to expand it later. Sometimes their PC games come out later and they don't announce them until later. So we're not sure, but as of right now, it's 360 PS3.
Well, what's your guys' gut on that?
I bet they'll do a PC one, but later. In terms of probably more than 6 months later, I would imagine. It's obviously a thriving market right now, and they did Max Payne 3. I think that uses the same Rage engine. I have no knowledge or strict intel on that or anything, but I'm gonna gut no on Wii U just because it's such a expensive proposition to bring it to a system, and they don't really know, is the install base going to be there?
Yeah, and they've gambled with Nintendo in the past. Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars for the DS, which I thought was a great title.
Yeah.
It just didn't find its market there.
So let's get to the meat. So at this point we're excited to see what it's on. They're actually playing it live. Why don't you guys kind of walk us through the demo and your impressions?
Well, it starts with, Michael sitting on his, right in front of his pool. He lives in the affluent neighborhood of Rockford Hills, which is their Beverly Hills. You see the mansion kind of behind him. He's got a tennis court down there. And in the background, you can see, downtown Los Santos.
It's a beautiful shot, too.
Yeah,
it really is.
He's the retired banker, or bank robber. He got a sweetheart deal that was really unconventional with the FIB, which is their FBI in the GTA world, and so he got to keep a lot of the money. We don't know all the details of what went down there. We're looking at his life, and it looks like the idyllic life. And then he gets up and he walks inside, and his daughter's there playing, like a fake Just Dance.
Yeah, and that was fun.
And she throws a one-liner out at her dad. It's called Exercise. Why don't you try it sometime? You can see right from the get-go, he's supposed to have this perfect life, but he doesn't seem comfortable in it. Then you see his wife come out, and she's got a shopping bag, and they tell us that she's basically spent all his money
Yeah.
And as
Didn't
she's
she
walking
say,
out,
if you want to know where I am, look at your credit card receipts?
yeah, exactly. As she walks away, and then he says, like, well, I'm feeling lucky. Maybe I'll check the hospitals. So they're clearly not a happy.
Well, yeah, they're like screaming. They're not talking to each other. They're like screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And there's definitely like it's not the happy home.
And
Yeah,
the thing that I thought was interesting is I think some of the Rockstar guys talked about is that Michael's he basically achieved what a lot of Rockstar protagonists wanted.
Yeah.
He led a life of crime. He got rich. He got out with his freedom intact. He's got the big house. He's got the trophy wife. But even when everything went according to plan, he's miserable. You know what I mean? So like the flip side to success isn't always what you think it's going to be. And I think it's kind of a cool contrast because this is what everyone else in other GTAs, like that would be their ideal situation.
Exactly. She takes off in the nice sports car, the Sentinel XS, and he's left. He goes in the garage, and all that's left is a bicycle. So it's like the return of the San Andreas bicycle, which is one of the first things you rode with CJ. And he gets on the bike, and we go through this tour of Rockford Hills, and it's really cool. They have rolling hills, kind of. It's like more slanted. It's not just like a flat surface,
Yeah, it looked like more like an area like in near Wilshire, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like in LA,
yeah.
it's what it totally reminded me of. And you could and it was amazing too, like some of the details you could catch from the side, like they have the sprinklers running, and you could hear them
Yeah.
the
gardeners are working, on the landscaping. And
He was
stuff
wearing
like that.
flip-flops, I remember, for a little detail. You could see his flip-flops kind of flopping around as he walked around the pool.
And as the bike nerd, I noticed that it had like the flywheel and the chain like engaged sounds. I mean, like the sound effects were like in full effect, and it really worked. I don't know that's how they're opening the game or anything like that, but it certainly was like, all right, let's get it on.
And then they mentioned, and this is just one of the 3 protagonists you get to play as, and now we're going to jump to the next one. And the way it jumped was really cool, like basically like Google Earth. You just go like, whoop, and then you're up, and like you have this satellite view of Los Santos, and then it moves over a bit, and then you drop right into the next character. And it's this crazy madman psychopath, Trevor, who's sitting on the toilet struggling with constipation, saying he needs a midwife for this thing, It's like that classic rock star humor coming through.
I mean, I was pretty blown away. I mean, what was your guys like? I mean, I certainly was not expecting seamless transitions like that.
Yeah, I mean, we'd heard the rumors about multiple protagonists, but I figured it would sort of be, parallel paths where, say, you play 5 missions as Michael, and now you switch over, and here's 5 missions as somebody else, and here's 5 missions as somebody else. Sort of like all the episodes from Liberty City just sort of, intertwined.
Yep.
But this was just, I mean, in an open world, the technology that, has to go into, like, being able to just select somebody on a little wheel and, go over here and jack into somebody that's, the equivalent of what, like 50 miles away from where Michael is, and do it on the fly was just, I mean, it's jaw-dropping.
It is.
The technology that they have and what they've done with the Rage engine is if it works how it looked like it worked, I mean, it's really a hell of a bit of programming that has gone into this game.
Yeah, the possibilities that they give you for dropping into the 3 characters, because they're going about their daily lives when you're not with them. They're doing random stuff. So every time you drop into a character, they might be doing something completely different. They might be in a bar fight. They might be just about to play tennis, which introduces the tennis minigame.
Exactly.
Like they really gives Rockstar an opportunity to put you in interesting places that maybe a lot of people, there was a lot of stuff on the cell phone in GTA 4 that some people complained there wasn't stuff to do. There was a ton to do. It's just all on their phone. This is a way they can surface that and like introduce more people to that content.
I don't know. For myself, I looked at that and I said, you're making this change to changing around. What did you give up to get changing from 3 characters? And I really couldn't think what it would be. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it really does look as modern day high-end AAA game development, but you can flip between characters.
And it'll function as sort of, de facto fast travel. Hey, I'm 80 miles over here in the country. Oh, boom, I'm back in Beverly Hills. Or, it's just, it's really cool. I think it's going to be amazing.
And I love what it does for the storytelling, too, because, as big as those games are, that Rockstar spoke to this a little bit, it's really hard to find a character that can be everything to everybody all the time. You run into this, like, narrative dissonance when there's Nico, who's kind of struggling. He came over trying to get out of the life, and he's getting sucked back in. So that's what's going on with him plot-wise. But then you're on the street with a missile launcher blowing up people. There's that dissonance there. And now they've I feel like they're sculpting out territory for the different characters. Like, Trevor is the psychopath who is prone to just going on a violent rampage. It fits his character. And Michael's the more demure, like calculated, like thinker. So they have these different. And then Franklin, the third one, who we haven't spoke about, he's the young up and coming hustler. You know, he feels more like in the CJ mold of GTA characters. So it really, I think it's going to help the narrative stand up a little better as well.
And encourage gameplay styles. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sometimes you play a game and you're like, well, I'm the classic hero, I've got shining armor, I should probably be pretty good, right? You know what I mean? Like, you get kind of affected by those things. And in this case, you can be like, okay, I've been nice, I've been driving around trying to obey the laws, I'm gonna go break some laws and switch over to another guy and wreak havoc.
Yeah, and I love that scene. They show Trevor driving down the street, flicking people off, which I said you should try out in different circumstances. You know, like if you flick people off in the affluent neighborhood, it's going to have a different reaction than if you do it to a biker gang.
Right.
But then he drives up and grabs that tank of gas and he just douses this truck with it, and you know, pours a trail away, and then he stands there and you can see like the glistening, you know, of the petrol.
Yeah.
Drops the Zippo and it just lights it on fire, and like the possibilities for being able to do stuff like that with that character is.
And there'll be people too that'll be like, I mean, this is just, we're totally making things up. They're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna jump out of this plane, and while I'm falling, you know what I mean, I'm gonna shoot the parachute with this guy over here. I mean, you can, there will be people that build crazy scenarios.
Yeah.
Flipping back and forth between the three characters, and like, I mean, the YouTube videos are going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's almost guaranteed.
Yeah. And I think Franklin's a cool character. He seems to be a little tied back to San Andreas.
He's from South Los Santos, which is their Compton area. So
he's late 20s, I believe, mid to late 20s, and he's working for a Armenian, basically a loan sharking ring where they
it's a luxury car dealership where they get these young up-and-comers who want to be like the status symbol guys, you know, which is obviously pretty prevalent in Hollywood. And they trick these guys into buying cars they can't afford, and when they're defaulting on the loans, Franklin's the guy who goes and plays the role of the repo man.
So that's probably where a lot of the car chase stuff will be, and it'll seem more natural because Michael wouldn't be the type of guy as calculated as he is to like go get in some reckless highway chase, probably. You know, whereas like it's part of Franklin's everyday
And again,
job.
his personality, he has access to luxury cars really early. Trevor is the guy who lives out in the sticks. He's a former military pilot. He has access to planes really early. So they're kind of bringing you up to all the stuff that people love about GTA really quickly.
I thought that kind of led very well into, like, you know, talking about the setting a little bit, you know, the change from New York City. Why don't you guys comment on that a little bit?
So the first thing I asked them is, why just one city instead of three? Because I know that's what the fans are going to ask. And they had a pretty convincing argument, you know, after going into such detail where they really captured the flavor of New York with Liberty City and 4. They wanted to do that to LA because that's such an interesting place, you know, like there's so many different walks of life that live there, and they felt like if they're really going to do LA right, you're going to need to put all your focus in LA.
Well, it certainly didn't make it small.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and that's the counterpoint. And for the people who are like, oh, well, it's just one city. Well, this world is bigger than the world of GTA 4, the world of Red Dead Redemption, and the world of San Andreas combined.
Yeah.
It's pretty mind-blowing. I mean, like...
And that's just in geographical square footage. That's not counting the insane level of detail over
exactly.
San Andreas.
You can go up hiking in the Mount Chiliad. You can go deep-sea diving. They have all this, like, coastal area that you can explore underwater.
I mean, when they mentioned underwater, I mean, I went like, you're kidding me, right? I mean, it really did seem...
I think you can play an 18-hole golf course and a full golf game.
Tennis. You know, like, they figured out with Red Dead that it's better to focus in and make mini games really good as opposed to having a bunch of crappy ones.
Yeah.
So they really honed in on that kind of stuff with this one. And I mean, this world is so, I mean, it's vast. There's vineyards, you know, there's Salton Sea.
And there's entire reality TV shows based off the crazy people that live in LA. I mean, there's no other place on Earth where you can find as many people to lampoon, than you can in LA.
Even the people that aren't on TV in LA feel like they should be on TV. You know, that's the kind of vibe you get from that place. And I think that, there's going to be a lot of stuff to parody in that city.
And I do remember when we first met Trevor out in Blaine County, and you see, the mountains in the background. I kind of got that feeling of when we first saw the demo for like Oblivion, and they were like, you see that area way up there? That's not just like a texture. That's like, you can go up on that mountain.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa. And they said, there's a mountain in the background, and you can go all the way up there. There's animals. I think there's
four-wheeling,
ATVs, and all this crazy stuff. But it's just, that's what I thought Red Dead Redemption did so well, is that huge sense of that kind of vast space. And I like the fact that this game can give you all the urban stuff that you liked about GTA 4 and kind of give you all the sort of rural and open space stuff that you liked about Red Dead, and it's
Yeah.
all in the same game, and it all makes sense because California is so vast and so diverse.
I mean, the thing that I loved about Red Dead, it's this huge world, but there was always opportunities, even when you were out in the middle of nowhere. You would come across those dynamic encounters. And they're going to bring that technology over here. So there might be a hitchhiker on the side of the road. You want to pick him up, see what goes on there. You know, maybe you're in the middle of the desert and you just pull up and there's 2 cars and a bunch of dead bodies. You know, is that a drug